I've carried an Altoids EDC tin with me for years, probably almost 10 years, ever since I watched Urban Prepper's video all those years ago. But I've decided to upgrade my tin, and I've done a more modern, kind of post-COVID tin that I carry with me every single where I go, and decided to go through it with you today. So let's get started. How's it going, folks? My name's Marcus, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here on this channel, I talk about technology, EDC, and anything that can help me live a happier, balanced, more productive life. So let's get stuck into the tin. When I open it up, I have it split up into kind of 4 key things that I want to be able to solve for. The first is I want to be able to fix anything as I go. I got little kids, they break their toys, we can be out and about, something breaks, it's a disaster, and I want to be able to do my best to fix that stuff as we go along. Also, I want to be able to fix things that break for me, open battery cases, all of that sort of stuff. So I need this tin to be able to do that. The second thing is I need to be able to fix humans. So small things like headaches, cuts, scrapes, I want to be able to solve for that with this tin. The third thing I want to be able to solve for is I want to have some money, some cash in there to be able to get me home, get the kids home, or pay for something if somewhere doesn't take card or Apple Pay. If I don't have cash on me, I want to have it in the tin. And the last and final thing is some very, very basic survival stuff. To be able to start a fire, be able to light up birthday candles, nothing crazy. I don't have things like fishing hooks and, I want to spend 24 hours in the desert with just this tin. This is an urban survival tin. It's about being a dad, having kids, and having some stuff with you to make life a little bit easier as you go along. So let's get stuck in. So opening up the tin, the things that I have at the very top of the tin are the things that I use most frequently. So you'll see at the very top here, I have things like Tylenol, extra strength for if I've got a headache, some antacids, I've got some medication for the kids in case they're not feeling well, some ibuprofen for my small kids. I've got a Zyrtec, which is, if I've got some allergies or my wife has allergies. And I also have a hand sanitizer so that we try and not transmit colds, flus, things like that. Having little kids, they bring colds. They've managed to find them absolutely everywhere. So having something like that in the tin is kind of essential, and I restock it all the time. Underneath that though is for cuts, scrapes and bruises. So I've got a lot of little kids band-aids, Bluey band-aids and Paw Patrol band-aids for knees, cut knees, scraped elbows, things like that. And one big band-aid for, I use them all the time. For even the smallest little cut seems to need a big band-aid in this house. Underneath that again, another thing I use all the time is the cash. I keep $20 in there. I also, you'll see in a bit, a couple of quarters in case I'm at a parking meter and I need to pay for it. Keep that in there, very handy to have all the time. Below that then though, at the very top of it, another really used thing is gum. So it's not okay to go around with bad breath. Even if you brush your teeth sometimes, it creeps up on all of us and I hate it. I carry gum with me, but if I'm out of gum, I love having a little emergency backup of 2 sticks of gum. It can really save the day. Especially when you're wearing masks and you're torturing yourself, having gum's a good idea. So then you've got the real kind of basic. You'll see that I don't cram the EDC tin full of stuff. I like to have plenty of room within inside it and not have things rattling around. Everything's kind of got its own little section, its own little tin within the tin to keep everything contained. So the first thing I want to talk about, and I suppose the main thing from this tin is for fixing things, is which multi-tool am I going to bring? And I put a lot of thought into this. I looked at the Leatherman, there's Leatherman Juice and the Leatherman Squirt series. I have a couple of those. But this ultimately I landed on this slightly bigger one, which is the SOG multi-tool. I think it's called the PowerPint. And I really like this tool. First of all, it's really tiny in the hand. It fits in this very small tin, but it's really powerful. Because it's got a pliers, it's got some wire cutters in it, feels really good in the hand. But that's not all. When you look at the tools that it's got inside it, it's got a fixed blade, it's got a scalpel blade, it's got a seatbelt cutter, it's got a metal file, it's got a saw, it's got a scissors. It really has so many tools and they pack a punch. As well, what's fantastic about it though is when you do take one of those tools out, they lock in place. So the knife blade, even though it's very small, does lock in place, and I love a locking blade on a knife because they're just much safer, honestly. When you're cutting something, you really don't want that blade snapping closed on your fingers. And a really simple mechanism to push the blade back in again, you open it up, push down on this metal thing, and clip the blade back down. But that's not all. As you start to close it, you'll see at the very back of this, that there's an area designed for a hex bit. So what I've decided to do is combine that with, this is intended to be used with a Leatherman. I bought this on Amazon. Link to all these things will be in the description below if you're looking for them yourself. But if I add this to it, you've got a really secure and really easy to use screwdriver bit. So in addition to having this really powerful multi-tool, you can use a screwdriver bit on top of that. But what bits am I going to use? Well, for that I decided to create its own little tin. You saw it was magnetized together, I'll explain that in a minute. But I've got this special tin with all these little bits in it. And originally I wanted to use just standard bit sizes. I was going to use some of these bits. But unfortunately they actually don't fit in. They're just ever so slightly too long to fit in the tin. So what I did to solve it was, let me show you what I've done. So I've got, when I pop this open, I've got all of these little drill bits, and they all fit beautifully in this tin, all lined up, and they don't go anywhere. Now the thing about this, I went onto Linus Tech Tips. Linus brought out his insanely expensive $70 screwdriver for suckers like me. I might do a review on this. I actually really like it. Feels great. But yes, he sells the bits separately, so you can buy all these little shortened bits that he made. I don't know why, they're ever so slightly shorter than regular bits, and they fit perfectly in this tin. And they're not expensive. They're like $6 or $7 for that set. So I stuck those in this tin and I bring them everywhere. So the SOG multi-tool with the bit extender, along with the bits, once you stick them in there, you've got a really robust tool, really solid tool for being able to open and close those screws as you go. So the next thing on the list is I've got little tweezers. So we get splinters all the time. That's another common occurrence in this house. And these are the Uncle Bill silver grippers, and they're fantastic. Great for pulling splinters out, great for reaching those little things when something falls into a crack and you can't get it out. I've used these a lot. In fact, I've lost the original. They came with a little keyring carrying clip with them. I don't use it anymore. I just use a regular keychain clip to keep them closed, and they're fantastic. Never had a problem with them. Underneath that is light. So if I'm in a place and I've dropped something under a table and I can't find things, I use flashlights all the time. And this one, if you've watched this channel before, you'll know I love the Olight Mini. This is a 10 lumen tiny little flashlight. It's got 3 small batteries in it, and it's magnetized. So when you close it like that, when you pop it back in, it turns off by itself. I love this one. I've done it in red because it's for emergencies. And with this as well, because it's magnetized, when I put it into the tin, it magnetizes itself in place, and it's another way to keep everything kind of close together so it doesn't rattle around within the tin, which is something that I wanted. In addition to that, what I've done is, with all these little tiny mini tins, I've glued tiny little micro magnets onto the back so it keeps everything in place. When you put it down in the tin, it doesn't rattle around everywhere, kind of helps hold things in place so you don't have this jiggly tin with you all the time. After the flashlight, a pen, something that you need all the time. I didn't want to go too fancy on it. I've seen people carrying these little tiny pens, and it's like, oh, it's so great that you can have this tiny pen in your tin. Absolutely useless. When you need it, it's going to be too small for you to use. You need to have a proper pen, and I've got the True Utility telescoping pen. A really great little aluminium pen, writes beautifully, and you know, you're not going to get a cramp in your hand, and it's actually something I'll reach for. If I've got one of those teeny tiny pens, I'm just never going to use it. I'm not going to go into the tin for it, so use something proper. After that, I've got this little fire starting kit. Now, quick question. Do I think that I'm going to be able to be dropped into the middle of the jungle, survive for 24 hours with my wife and kids based on this EDC tin? Absolutely not. This is just about having stuff with me in case I need to light birthday candles. I think this is the most likely scenario for this. And in this fire tin, what I've done is, first of all, on the back, I've put a match striker on the back, and I put several matches within here to have with me in case I need them. One of the things I learned from Urban Prepper all those years ago was if you put Vaseline inside in a straw and you crimp the ends of it, it's fantastic for starting fires. And I've had this with me for 10 years, which will tell you how often I use it. However long ago, since his Gen 1 video, this is when I created that. So I've got that in here. I've got some matches. I've also got matches wrapped up in some tape here. I've got an iPhone multi-tool opener, so there's plenty of things in here, and they all sit in that tin, along with a tiny scalpel blade, even though I've got one on my multi-tool, and that's all in my fire tin. Now I bring that with me because it's just about big enough. I realize that I'm probably never going to need it. I do use the matches. I've changed the matches out, and I have used them for lighting things, lighting fires or lighting birthday candles when someone's out without a lighter and we're stuck. But realistically, it's not going to get us out of a really tricky situation. And then the last one is my mini Altoids tin, and I've shown this on this channel before, so I'm going to just run through it real quick. But inside this mini Altoids tin, I keep some cash with me in case I need to pay for a parking meter. I keep a sewing kit with me. You can see this one's been used. I've only got a couple of colors of thread left. I will update it and stick in a new one. Actually, it's probably the right time to do it, seeing as I have it with me. I've used these before when I've ripped shirts at work or I've caught myself in an awkward situation. It has got me out of trouble. I've got a little Victorinox little screwdriver and a teeny tiny pry bar if you need it. I've got a whistle in the event of emergency. So this one's loud. I'll turn down the decibels here. But I've got this little whistle. I like having that just in case. Here's something that I use all the time. Single-use gels. So these are the single-use super glue gels for fixing the kids' toys when they're crying on the side of the street. They want something fixed then and there. I'm able to do it with one of those gels. I use that a lot. I've got a micro to USB-C converter for charging devices with me. One of the things that I use commonly. I've got another tweezers here. I've got one of the Victorinox tweezers. Why do I have 2 tweezers? Because the second one fit. I keep that in there all the time. I've got a paper clip. I've got some more bits, some of my less used bits, some of my Torx bits that I don't use in the bit driver kit, but I would like to have with me anyway. They sit in there. I've got this really small Spyderco knife. I bought this ages ago. I love it. I've actually never used it, but it's so cute. It's not a locking blade, so you can use this one in the UK. I guess if you're relying on this, you're in real trouble, but it will cut a box open for you. It'll cut a piece of string. I really like it because it's cute. And then I've got some more matches just tucked in there just in case. And that's everything for my EDC tin kit. I hope you enjoyed watching this. What would you carry with you in your ideal EDC tin? Or what are some of the things that you think that I've missed here or I've forgotten? Add them in the comments below. I'd be happy to try anything out. Good luck.